This is the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reid on 101 ESPN.
If you like that pre-Thanksgiving buffet served up with a healthy heaping of chaos, then guess what? Week 13 was the meal for you. Welcome in, everybody. It's our holiday week edition, pre-Thanksgiving. Bradford Bruns, Alvin, Reid, Marty Jenkins, the whole band is back together again. And gentlemen, we don't quite have week 4 college football rankings to be able to dissect, but man, we have a lot to recap from the week that was and looking forward. Rivalry week matchups, yes.
Can't wait. Rivalry week. And, looking back, probably the best weekend of the year, I would say, last weekend.
Surprisingly, too.
Surprisingly, you're right, because we had a couple other weekends that were much more hyped up than this one. But, yeah, I'm excited to dive into these rankings that are going to be released tonight. Got lots to talk about. Got to talk about my Irish, Rock Chalk Jayhawk in the building, baby.
Hey.
Let's go.
For a 5-6 team to be playing a game for a chance to go to a bowl game, all right, it just means more this year because of what all went down. And then when all said and done, I don't know if you boys realize this, but KU did something that no team has ever done before in college football.
Give it to us.
No unranked team has beaten 3 ranked teams in succession ever.
I didn't know
and we pulled that off. Find ourselves at 5-6, going down to Baylor. We'll talk about it a little later. And if you win that game, you qualify for a bowl game, and you would go into that bowl game pretty much the hottest team in college football.
You would. Right. It's still there for the
taking.
It's
still there, right? And I think that helped last week. That you really wasn't just hey, we can beat these guys. There was actually something on the line to play for. So,
absolutely.
Right?
You know what else helped is them dudes coming into town all high and mighty. Like, they were the talk, man.
Hey.
And like Marcus Freeman with Northern Illinois, they bought into the hype.
Well, Deion said that after the game. My column is about that, which will come out in this week's St. Louis American. And I'm just, just to touch on it real quick. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit, later. But I will say this. It was like it was like a concert. I entered the game, and my seat was in row 12, okay?
That's a theme for us this season, by the way.
End zone, where Colorado came out onto the field, and that's where they're doing pregame warm-up. The field around them was just ringed with Colorado fans, and they are just jumping and gyrating and pointing and hooting and hollering, and the fans are in it, and they jeffing with the fans. And all right, Travis Hunter leaves the field last after pregame warm-up and just does all the crowd and moonwalking in the end zone, and he's the last guy to come out after the entire team has already come out. It's the Heisman Trophy show. It was played to the ultimate, to the hilt. But as I wrote my column, a funny thing happened on the way to the coronation. KU showed up to play.
Colorado would never do something like that.
Right.
Build something up to that degree.
It was just, you had to see it to believe it. And I capped the column by saying, I'm glad I was part of the show because I got to experience it. I interviewed some people decked out, whole families, Colorado gear. But hey, the connection, whatever, none whatsoever. I'm here for pride. I'm here because this is a positive story. I'm here for this, that. So you have no connection to the University of Colorado football program, academic, none whatsoever. It was really interesting. It was really the anthropological study, and I think it's a good thing because people were just enjoying themselves over there. But, boy, they were loud when that game was about to start. And they was quiet when that game was over. So that's all I can say.
I would never
football fans
ever say that humble pie was served to the University of Colorado because I don't think that is possible.
But Deion said it.
It was served.
The final of 37-21. Alvin, as you stated, we will get into KU Baylor among our blitz picks later on in the College Football Connection. This is Week 14, gentlemen. Appreciate everybody out there in YouTube land, the 101 ESPN YouTube channel, as well as 101ESPN.com, listening, consuming our product on the holiday week, no less. Let's dive right into it, though, with number 3 UT matching up with Texas A&M. The rivalry renewed, 119th installment all time. And last weekend, you talked, Alvin, about funny things transpiring down the stretch. It was a tumultuous weekend all the way around. But how about Texas A&M succumbing in 4 OTs to Auburn after being able to engineer that 21-0 comeback after halftime? Yet, the Aggies at Kyle Field here, underdogs by, at last check, 6, over-under figure of 48.5 for a 6 p.m. kickoff, still have that destiny, the conference destiny, and by extension, the CFP destiny in their hands. It's all right there for the taking, at least a bid to get to the conference championship game yet if you handle your business.
You know, we talk about them lines every week that are like, really?
Okay.
Really? 6 points?
I don't feel that way.
I don't feel that way
Feels
either.
appropriate.
Okay.
I think you're by yourself, Marty.
Yeah, well, I'm by myself. I was by myself last weekend, too. Listen, you know, they
You said it.
They just lost to Auburn, 4 overtimes. Great game. Throttled by the Gamecocks a couple weeks before. I feel like this line should be double digits. I think the key here is going to be the secondary.
You're not by yourself. All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Longhorns. Oh, you thought I was going the opposite way?
Yeah. Me
Oh,
too.
okay.
Yeah.
No. I think the Longhorns should be favored by 12 to 13.
Okay, all right.
Not at Kyle Field.
Well,
No, sir.
I think the big key here is going to be the secondary. I don't see A&M scoring many points against those athletes. I mean, I'm looking at, it's gone from 4 to 6, 48.5. I think it's 40 to 14. So give me the Longhorns and the over.
I think 27-20 Longhorns cover.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit, maybe even a little bit more than that. I just think Texas sees their shot to actually get in this thing, and they feel as though they can actually win this thing. And I think Texas A&M has an outstanding season, but I think they're out of gas. I think they're on E.
I worry about that too. Right. I really do. When you have to expend that much energy, especially last week on the road, and did Hugh Freeze, on another note, ever desperately need that sort of triumph last week?
True, because you lose that one, yeah.
You're still technically bowl eligible, but against the grain here, against really a lot of my rationale, I'm still riding with the Aggies because this is a demonstrably different and better, superior team when you're talking about the venue that is Kyle Field. Think about so many of the different problems that have been encountered by Texas A&M this season. Largely, they have occurred on the road. And I do know that there isn't necessarily the outright certainty at the quarterback position there. You don't really know from game to game the roller coaster that you're going to go on, whether it's Reid, whether it's Wigman for that matter too. But in that environment, with an opportunity to still seal a bid to the SEC title game to match up with Georgia, despite the 3 losses there, I think there's enough for A&M to compete well into the second half. And if you're saying, is it a field goal-ish sort of game, I do believe that A&M can win against the spread. I would never pick this team outright. I know how great the Texas defense has been, 3rd now in the nation, all the way up to number 3 in stop rate 2. But just call it a hunch here. Texas A&M, albeit, hey, I'm not playing with that over-under. No, sir.
You playing with it?
I am going to go with the over on it.
Me and you.
I think part of that is Texas scoring the points. I think that part of that is Texas A&M feverishly trying to come back. I just think that Texas is one school that is not intimidated by Kyle Field. They've been doing it for 150 years or whatever.
Fair.
And I think that they're just like, look, been here, done this. All right. So let's go out here and play. I think we're better than Texas. Let's beat Texas to cover by 7 points. Now, I know that Texas isn't thinking like that, but I am. They win by touchdown, at least.
Could be interesting if the QB play for UT is a little underwhelming again, too.
We've
seen stretches from
But he can't suck. I was in there saying, because that was going to be like, Ewers, if he just decides he's going to play one of his worst games, which he's coughed up a couple of times this year, then it's a different story. But I think he's okay. I think he'll be all right.
Good point about them not being intimidated by that atmosphere.
Let's talk about scoring points going back to Cali, Pasadena, West Coast. Marty, that is where your Fighting Irish, number 6, they are 7.5-point favorites traveling to USC in a game that has the over-under at 51.5. Make no mistake about it, gentlemen. A thoroughly unimpressive, I'm just going to say it, debut season in the Big Ten still is weird to say for USC, for the Trojans. And yet, you're up to 6 wins. Rest assured, though, this is your bowl game. You're going to have a pedestrian contest mid-December, late December. That is immaterial because with a chance to create, chaos is the word of the day, word of the week, and wreak some havoc with respect to the Irish's plans. USC has been winning. It is so strange to confess, to stand here and say, in an ugly manner and with some defensive effectiveness in the past few weeks. That's right, under Lincoln Riley. You beat up on UCLA physically, and certainly over the last few weeks, you have seen more and more of those signs. This was a team last week as well. Keep in mind, 27 staff members and players combined missed extensive practice time during the week as an illness swept through the locker room. It's a gritty team. It has become a surprisingly gritty team. And despite the high-flying theatrics and the offensive proficiency of Notre Dame, which we once again saw on display last weekend, you beat up on another service academy. You have defeated the 2 service academies on your schedule by a combined score of 100 to 28. This one is different. The environment is different. I like Notre Dame to squeak it out, but USC is going to make this a field goal game. Mark my words.
No.
You're messing with USC? You're messing with USC?
I am.
Okay.
No, they're not. I'm sorry. Bradford, let's be real here. One, Notre Dame got more alumni living in the Los Angeles area than probably any school in the nation,
Including
that
USC.
isn't from California. Right. I think they come out in full force. They put a beat down.
Woo!
Beat down.
How bad?
On USC. More than 7.5 points, okay? I think they go to double-digit victory.
Okay.
I think they run the ball. I think they hold USC. I think they control that game from beginning to end, setting up, do they still play that game in Fresno, that bowl game in Fresno? You might see the USC KU 6-6 bowl in there, But no, seriously, I think Notre Dame, and don't take lightly these beatdowns of the service academies, because they are playing pretty good football this year.
Good point.
And they ran into Notre Dame and they got killed. And I think Notre Dame, looking back, yeah, sure, they want Northern Illinois back, but at the same time, they said, like, look, we flitted that one away.
Yeah, to a second-tier match.
And we're just look, we're where we are now because we're playing good football. We're going to keep playing good football. We're going to make the 12, and only because they're not in a conference will they not get to host a game.
Right.
And they'll make do. So, yeah, they take care of USC.
I'm not dismissing the service academies whatsoever, but Marty, I do believe this is far and away the most stern test that the Irish actually have faced. I believe that. I firmly believe that since all the way back in week 1 versus the Aggies.
Agreed. Before I dive into this, because I got a lot to say, you guys messing with the over-under?
I am.
I am not on that one.
Okay, what do you got?
Let the points fly. It's going to be beautiful out there mid-afternoon in Cali, 51.5. Go over, go over.
All right, so, I'm being literal here, going back to my grandparents to great-grandparents, Irish in our family, Notre Dame football. We never fare well when we go out there at the end of the year.
I've seen it.
Well,
Track
last time
record.
I saw it was Manti Te'o.
Dude, Charles White back in the day.
Take it back. Take it back.
It's just a bad feeling. I don't care if they're sitting at 2-9 right now. When we go out there, it's kind of like, Cubs being in our family. We never like playing the Cardinals. We always feel like we're going to lose.
Should next year.
This one. All right, this one. Ever since NIU, they've been pounding the ball. They've been playing good defense. And I give kudos to Freeman. He turned that ship around. That could have gone real south.
Yeah.
Real south. So he did a good job keeping them together, realizing the ultimate prize. USC's lost to Penn State, Minnesota. Minnesota's a good team, by the way. And Michigan by a combined 11 points. Okay? They could eat. That's crazy.
Always in it.
I know.
Always in it.
I think, Miller puts it together, and Marks and the wide receiving core. What is this? 51.5. I think this is a game down to the last few minutes. You want to talk about a hyped atmosphere. This place is going to be going crazy, too, because there's a lot at stake here. I'm going with USC, and I'm going with the under. I feel like, and I agree with you regarding the most stern test of the year. I just feel like this is the game where the Irish, they're going to get the tight cheeks. Rest in peace, Dunk. They're going to get the tight cheeks. There's a lot at stake here. But here's my question to you guys, and I'm going with USC in the under. not a lot of people are talking about this, maybe for good reason, but is Notre Dame still in with a loss? Because they're going to be number 5 tonight in the CFP. Are you really going to drop them 8 spots with a loss?
I believe because of
Is that a fair question?
It is, but I believe what saves them is the losses last week. See, if you push Notre Dame down, you know who's going to get jammed? Indiana. Because they'll say, like, nah, we had to keep Notre Dame in. And, maybe this 2-loss Georgia team is in and et cetera.
A lot of 2-loss teams in there.
I understand, but I think Indiana's the one that's going to get bumped to keep Notre Dame in the 12.
I don't disagree. The loss was more recent. Indiana already, we know for a fact, has moved down to number 10 in the AP poll. I understand CFP is a totally different animal, but there's so much chaos reigning supreme and running amok right now. Think about it. Texas A&M, as we said a few minutes ago, with 3 losses, with a win versus UT, in all likelihood could factor into that mix because you set up a head-to-head versus Georgia for all the beans in the SEC.
Oh, right. And, that's your conference tournament team that wins in the NCAA basketball tournament that takes somebody else's bid.
Yeah.
All right, that's on the bubble. And if Texas A&M gets in, all right, here's another SEC team that gets in. I think that works against other SEC teams.
I agree. And
quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree. And I was talking to my brother today, and I agree with him. It's just, it's going to haunt them. You can't lose to a second-tier MAC team, and they're second-tier now in the MAC.
Yes.
If they lose this game, they're not getting in. You cannot lose to Northern Illinois. I don't care if it was in week 1 or not. So you got to win this one, Irish.
All right.
Set it up. Should be entertaining. It will be entertaining in mid-Missouri, maybe for some different reasons on Saturday afternoon. Look out, because for the first time, boys, we are going to be dealing with a weather game, it would appear. Not only is the forecast set up, the temperature, that is, set for the lower 30s, could be getting some snowfall at Wrigley Field. That's right, for MU, currently a favorite by just 3, perpetually ranked Tigers. I'm just going to stop speculating because number 23 at last check as well, whatever, hosting Arkansas in the battle line contest. That's fine. If you want to manufacture a rival for Arkansas, yes, in the form of Arkansas, whatever. Here's what I know. Missouri last weekend, gentlemen, we understand, yes, that Mississippi State, woeful, woebegone Mississippi State, winless in conference play was on the schedule. You still had to handle your business in Starkville, and Mizzou, surprisingly, played bully ball for the most part in accomplishing the task in winning 39-20. When you are effectively, to that extent, running the football, controlling the line of scrimmage, and holding it for almost 43 minutes of play, pretty impressive. And
it is.
Alvin, we talked about it last week in studio. Could have gone in one of 2 ways. Missouri is competitive for once on the road, regardless of the caliber of opponent lined up on the other side. Or you go into that shell knowing on the heels of that South Carolina loss, there's nothing big picture for which to play. Eli Drinkwitz earlier today, press conference there in the media room at the University of Missouri-Columbia, talked about trying to honor the seniors first and foremost in this one, and you're trying to pick up win number 9. This would still be just the 9th season, boys, overall, in which you could get to 9 or 10 victories, depending on what happens with the bowl in program history. And I, too, during the course of the season, so much hype, obviously, kind of have lost sight of that because by Missouri standards, it's still a remarkable campaign in a lot of ways, but you have to handle your business versus Arkansas, and this is a Hogs team that, in my estimation, ever since the Tennessee win, that surprise, hasn't played nearly as well. I'm not putting much stock into what you just did versus Louisiana Tech.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. I like Missouri in this one. I like Missouri to cover. I'm going with the under on it because of the weather. All right, I just don't see them ripping and running up and down the field.
Yeah,
if
54
really
is too high.
That's too high, so I'm going to go with the under on that one. The only thing that I can say to this as far as Arkansas is concerned is they have played a couple games where they did play some decent football, okay? And if it is indeed bad weather, Missouri's got some, high-flying stars, and who wants to, get hurt on a slick field or whatever.
It's LB3's last game. I'll say it.
I wasn't trying to go there, but you did, all right? Because I really doubt seriously if he plays the bowl game. And so as I'd like to see him go out in grand style, but I like the weather, and Arkansas probably doesn't want to play that game of letting him go out in grand style. I still think Missouri covers 3.5. I think Missouri obviously wins the football game, but I'm going with the under.
What'd you pick? I'm sorry.
Missouri, in this instance, just a 3-point favorite. I think that in the fourth quarter, you see that edge pushed to double digits, but the total of 54.5 way too high for me because, Alvin, you mentioned obviously the Missouri skill players, especially the receivers, may not be able to have the footing, may not be able to have the track or the traction there in Columbia. But by the same time, I love what I have seen in the last couple of weeks from the O-line despite the wealth of injuries. Marty, losing your starting center, an NFL caliber starting center to be in Connor Tollison, that was supposed to basically short circuit the running game. Drake Heismeyer, though, the fifth-year senior, has been really good up front. And Nate Noel, what a difference a healthy Noel has made. Because even though Carroll had the vulture touchdowns last week, 3 of them, Noel is the engine that makes this running game go, and he will do that in bad weather too.
First off, those 2 games you mentioned, Arkansas lost to the Longhorns by only 10.
Right.
And A&M by 3. So.
And then they were in the game against LSU, correct?
Yes, and I think they ended up losing by double digits, like 10 or 12 or something.
Exactly, but they were in that one. Now LSU's program, where's it at now? But
so Brian Kelly, baby.
Yeah.
290.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of my background.
Yeah, I'm arguing with my players on the field. Right? You're uncoachable. Well, you the coach.
All right, listen, quarterback, Taylor Green, Jackson, good running back, nice wide receiving core. I think this game, I'm going to go the opposite of you guys. I think we're going to see the points flying in this one despite the weather.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we're going to, and I'm going to text y'all during this.
You can, because I hear what you're saying, but I always feel like that's kind of a little dangerous play because you just really, if there's going to be weather, you really don't know how
it's going to
absurd it's going to be.
Right,
that's
right. And so I'm rolling. I think we're going to see a lot of points here. Big game by Andrew Armstrong. I just think Mizzou, I think they're going to score 24-ish, but I think Arkansas wins 31-24, which would hit the over by half a point.
Another side question for you. How much does Sam Pittman need this game at the helm for Arkansas? Yeah. And I say that because last season was an abject failure. 1 win in the SEC.
Yes.
You get off to a pretty good start this season, but still, as we stand here on November the 26th, you're 11th in the SEC standings, and I will put out there into the universe who is looming on the sideline potentially to take over that program.
Mac Brown? Just kidding.
Right.
He's available.
I just don't think I don't think they'll hire Bobby Petrino. Now, come on.
No. Why not?
No, that's too much like local baggage. What are you gonna do? Look up his girlfriend? Like is she still in town? Right? Come on.
Churn of personnel, Alvin. Churn of personnel.
People forget.
People forget. You're right. Short memories. If you can win some football games. You know what? I just remember like Independence Bowl. Let's go back. This is 24, so that would have been 22. Great game. Like almost in overtime, KU comes back, but they win. Arkansas wins. That program trajectory was up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was up. They come back, like you said, last year, 1 SEC win. This year, where are they at? Where are they at? So you're right.
He needs this.
He needs this. I don't think it'll cost him his job if he loses. I think that would be a year from now. But you're right. I mean, it would be a nice win for the Arkansas Razorbacks and for Pittman if they came here and won this game.
It would be.
Right. And especially since Missouri's ranked 23rd in the nation.
Sure.
I don't
true. The bowl game is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things for the Razorbacks. You get back to one, that's nice. The result, though, is immaterial. Right. You have to demonstrate on the road in the final game of the regular season anything, basically a complete 180 from 2023, because that was one of the most disgusting Black Friday affairs I've witnessed. Mizzou dump trucking Arkansas, putting 40-plus on the road.
Board. Right.
Oh, it was 50. It was it 40 in the 40s?
Right. They didn't even show up.
At some point, it doesn't matter.
Right. And that Black Friday game they didn't even show up.
No.
Right. And I think and then we roll into this season like, okay, well, it was just a rough season last year, but they never picked up any kind of steam.
No.
So, they're kind of meandering right now.
Now, as far as points go, Big Ten style, we saw them in an abundance in New Jersey last week in Illinois and Rutgers, a bananas game. Brett Bielema said as much following the contest. But hey, Illinois, in spite of 11 flags. 4 infractions alone committed by the right tackle in that game. Not sublime by any means, quarterback or running back production. You got the dub, 38-31, which sets you up right now at 8-3, entering this battle, this road-ish battle against Northwestern in a game, Marty, that's going to be played friendly confines, Wrigley Field.
Let's go,
now,
baby.
38-31, that was the outcome last week in Illinois, hanging in the CFP rankings, the last batch of those at number 25, and favored, not in Champaign, by 7.5. Yep. The over-under is 43.5. Come 11 o'clock on Saturday, what are we going to see?
People pound in Northwestern right now. This opened at 9.5, down to 7.5. Over-under, only 44.
I know.
That may be one of those, really? Illinois scoring some points. You know what I mean? I think Illinois is going to continue to score some points in this one. It's Northwestern. I mean, I think the Illini was 50-6 last game, Michigan versus Northwestern. I mean, they're not going to score 50, but they could score in the 30s, and the Northwestern's good for a touchdown maybe. So give me the Illini. Give me the Illini and the over.
I think this line is out of line.
Yeah.
I think Northwestern covers 7.5. I think that's too many points. I think Northwestern plays. It's their bowl game. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Kind of, and you're playing in Wrigley Field, and they've been playing in, like I say, on the parking lot stadium, whatever they're throwing together up there. So they'll be not. I think they'll be thrilled to be playing even if it is Wrigley Field, a real stadium with a real crowd and all that. I like
that's a Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I like Northwestern to cover in this one. I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but I think it's going to be the under though. I once again, cold, kind of misty, rainy day right after Thanksgiving. I don't see either team really getting a lot of traction on each other. I think Northwestern hangs. I think, Illinois doesn't cover, but wins the football game. I mean, Illinois should have lost to Rutgers last week. Now, Rutgers, we can say what they want to, but improbable. And the funny thing about that was, it's like on Saturday, you see Illinois' winning touchdown. And literally my thought was, you'll never see that in pro football. And the Washington Commanders did it the very next day. How you go throw a ball 15 yards with no timeouts? All they got to do is tackle the dude.
It's unreal.
Right?
Just when you think you've seen it all.
down the field. It's like, huh? Right. So I think Northwestern hangs. I think Northwestern covers that 7.5. Illinois gets the win.
Okay.
Illinois is going to need a heck of a lot more than just a Herculean effort from Pat Bryant to win this one. By the way, a country-leading 3 game-winning scores for the wide receiver by Illinois. He has been fantastic.
Yes, he has.
He has been tremendous. Altmaier rebounds in this setting to me. And all season long, guys, I have cited what I believe to be a surplus as far as the mental and physical fortitude and toughness of this Illinois team. This team is different than the 2022 version that really self-destructed down the stretch and did not allow itself to be able to reach those rarefied heights that were expected then of the program, despite having all that NFL caliber talent.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is still there. You could be vying for a Citrus Bowl berth right here, right now. And also, if you get to 9, that's the biggest number. It is the highest number of victories you will have had since way back in 2007. There is too much at stake to gamble away here. Finding Illini with an authoritative win. Give me Illinois minus 7.5. The over-under figure, I agree. Even if the snow follows, it goes to the second city, 43.5. Both of these teams can combine for more than that.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Northwestern Wildcats going to show you all.
Let's do this thing. You guys ready to blitz?
I am.
All right. Back to the SEC. Number 11, Tennessee, 10.5-point favorites at Vanderbilt. Does Diego have more in store for Nico and company? I think this one is much closer right now than the initial line indicates. 48.5 for the over-under. I'm not playing around with that one for this 11 o'clock kickoff, but I do think that Vanderbilt all season long, 6-5 now, has not been able to garner the respect it deserves, and that team plays differently at home. Same case here.
So you're rolling with Vanderbilt.
Vandy plus.
Vandy 6-6 after this beatdown Tennessee puts on them. Tennessee covers the 10.5. Here's why. Tennessee, we're in the show unless we play ourselves out of it in this game. Sorry, Vandy, we got to take care of our stuff. We're going to the 12. Thank you, all these other teams, for losing last week. Yeah. We're in as long as we beat you and beat you. they're going to beat them.
Blowout City.
Blowout City.
Vols in the over.
Oh,
Right,
my.
right.
I agree that last weekend's
Vols in the over.
Yep, let's
the
do it.
nonsense helped Tennessee's case and cause immensely, but I have a lot of respect for that Vanderbilt program.
I do too, but they're just in the wrong place at the right time, kind of thing.
Fair enough. That was the case when we were talking about last weekend, the beatdown that was levied by Michigan against Northwestern.
Yeah.
And the latest edition of the game doesn't feel like much of one this Saturday morning. Also at 11 o'clock, Michigan, for crying out loud, has to travel to Columbus. The Buckeyes still number 2. That one, we're talking turkey here on this edition of the College Football Connection. That ended up being an insanely large turkey after Indiana guys scored the first touchdown in the game, and then OSU reels off 31 unanswered points.
Let's go back to halftime. Let's go back to early in the third quarter. That was still a game. Indiana belonged, and then it just got away from them.
Did it feel that way to you, though? Did it feel like a game?
It did. Well, they could.
did for half of the game.
Yeah.
And then I texted my buddies and I said the wheel's about to fall off in the second half.
And I kind of felt the same way. I was at,
But they hung for half?
Right. By that time, I did not see any of the second half. I'm just kind of following the score. And I was not surprised that it went down because Indiana didn't score. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't score, they're going to score. They needed to come out, drive the field again at the beginning of the second half. It didn't happen. So.
Just as you had outlined for the very beginning of the game, followed the recipe
Right.
and then couldn't really keep it up for 4 quarters. Here, though, that line, minus 21. I know that the Buckeyes can thoroughly outclass the Wolverines, but this is the theme, I think, of our program today on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel and 101ESPN.com. Rivalry week would be bowl games basically happening now for a lot of these blue bloods. That includes Michigan. I am feeling the backdoor cover here.
I agree.
Although 42.5 over-under, shying away from that.
Oh, I'm the same way. I'm sorry. I got Michigan covering 21 points.
Wow.
I think that's just a lot. I'm sorry. That's just a lot. Ohio State's going to beat us by 3 touchdowns. They didn't beat us by 3 touchdowns when they were way better than we were. Well, before Harbaugh got there, okay, and Ohio State was competing for the national championship and Michigan was floundering, they weren't beating them by 21 points. So what makes them think it's going to happen this go-round? I'm nope on that one. I am going to go with the over, though.
And you think Michigan, Marty, really wants to finish sub 500 in conference action? That's embarrassing.
So what makes them think that, the 21, is that's what Oregon beat them by. So I think they're basing a lot off that.
But this is the Michigan-Ohio State game.
Good point.
It's true. I'm with you guys. Pound it. Slow it down. Ohio State has laid an egg or two at times this year, like every team in the country. You thought that with Oregon in week 1, but we see what Boise's turned out to be.
Yeah, they did. Right, exactly.
I just don't think they're going to get hyped for this one like any other year. I mean, and I think that's going to bite them in the butt. I think Michigan can slow this game down. I'm going to go with the under in this one. I think it's going to be a sloppy affair. Have not checked the forecast, unfortunately. But I think Michigan hangs around in this game till early in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. Already looking ahead maybe to that conference championship affair.
I got to check this. I think the Chargers are on a bye this week. And you think Jim Harbaugh would make a trip back out there to Wolverine land if he was on a bye?
100%.
That's the motivation. That's all the motivation the Maize and Blue need.
He's the GOAT.
I mean, that pregame speech would be enough for him to cover 21 points.
He'll be there.
Right.
Let's.
I believe it's a bye. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that. But I believe they're on bye this week.
Let's talk about Waco, baby.
Let's do it. The final one, blitz package on the College Football Connection. Alvin, the Jayhawks, favored by 1. 5-6, big-time winning streak, unprecedented stuff against ranked opponents of late. All you need is one more victory to qualify for that bowl position, but you must knock off Waco. Baylor is the opponent. The over-under is 61.5. We yield that floor to you.
A lot of points. I think KU will end up with at least 2 more points. So I think KU covers. I am going to go with the over on that one. I think they have come to a point where they now realize that team that just couldn't win a game in the first month of the season is the same team. They just weren't doing the things they needed to win, and now that they're doing them, I think that game last week proved a lot to themselves. I really do. I think that they convinced themselves last week that we're a damn good team. Our record doesn't show it, but seriously, we have proven that we are the best 5-loss team in America by far, and I think getting that 6th win doing it for Coach Leipold, shutting down all the "we should fire the coach" talk that was going on halfway through this season. And yes, out on the message boards, that nonsense was out there.
True.
I think they go down here, they win this football game, they get to 6 wins, they go to a bowl game.
I think they go to, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, because regardless of the departures, and you will have a number of key departures, it cements the fact to me that that coaching staff knows exactly what to do in terms of building and fortifying the program. This has not been an aberration over the last couple of years. The way it has responded to adversity in the second half of the schedule tells you everything.
Right, because it could have gone to hell. You talked about these other teams earlier. Like, man, you're 1-5. Like, what? Right, everything. All right, lose 10 games. Ooh, you lucky to do that. Okay, all right. I didn't know where it was going. I honestly didn't. I said, well, okay, you're going to win, and we got these wins. Iowa State came in, and I said, I think we can beat Iowa State. Okay, you beat Iowa State. Now you're going out to BYU. You win that game. All right, now Colorado. Now it's for real. Now it's the whole nation's going to be watching. Fox saw the Jayhawks play and saw them beat Colorado. I think they're full of confidence. I think they take that confidence with them to Waco.
Full of confidence. You know, no team, hardly any team as hot as they are right now. I'm with you on the over. This has gone from 3-1, 60.5 to 61.5. But you know what? Baylor's good.
Yeah, I know. I'd be the first to admit that. Yes, they're
quietly
not
good.
Tons of quietly good. Tons of close losses. They can score. Sawyer Robertson, since coming back, you know, he's a good quarterback. I think this is going to be one of those games. I really feel last team with the ball wins.
I agree with you. Yep. And maybe we pull this one out like we lost so many earlier.
Over in Baylor. Yes.
Right. Yeah. By the way, in that game, you couldn't see it where we were standing. I didn't see it to the replay. Man, that kid took a shot at Shedeur. It was low, kind of on his knees when he was about to pass the ball. And it was like, you know, like, man, college, technically that's not dirty play. You know, in pros, they call a penalty on that. But it was just one of those plays where, like, man, KU's just kind of got this F-it attitude, man.
Could you see the shove of the official, though?
The little shove. I didn't know that happened until after the game.
No flag. It didn't happen.
Oh, no, it didn't happen. Right.
Yeah, they had the F-it, and it was chippy.
It was,
you could tell that from the beginning of the game.
Right.
Like I told my buddy a few minutes into the game, I said, this is going to get nasty.
Right. And so I just feel like, hey, take that attitude with you down to Waco. You'll be fine.
Devin Neal won't score another quartet of touchdowns on the ground. He's not going to need to do that. Daniels will give them ample contributions as well. The production will be there. The figure in the low 60s, I have to step back from that, however. I agree that it could come down to the last possession or two. KU by close to double digits, but I'm not playing with the over-under. As far as being over, I will make it official. I will go with the under in this instance. But yes, that is what I have as we round out 7 picks in all, gentlemen. Holiday week edition of the College Football Connection. I'm curious as well. We have the college pigskin, obviously. We have a bevy of NFL action to come as well. And yet, mixing in with all of those elements, tons of holiday hoops on the hardwood, those holiday tournaments, and Danny Hurley getting feisty.
Hey, we didn't even talk to him about that. Man, listen, we all covered him when he was here, Rhode Island, when they played the Billikens. And he's a punk. He whines.
Punk
whines all the time, interacts with the crowd. And Alvin brought up a good point when we were talking before we hopped on about just his antics overall.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody somewhere at the conference, NCAA, say, hey, man, you got to calm down. You're the coach of the defending national champion, 2-time national champion.
You were in Maui.
Right. Somebody going to hit you in the head with a bottle, and it won't be your fault, you know, on the sideline. But we can't have this out of control stuff because the world has changed, man.
It's at that level now.
Yeah, it's at that level where you're going to challenge somebody and they come running out the stands. We can't have that.
Yeah.
Which makes
cool down, my man.
That extension so interesting because everything about that demeanor, about that personality and that mentality suggests, is this somebody whose fuse is going to quite literally burn out sooner rather than later? In a couple of years, are we still going to be talking about UConn in the same way?
Well, I don't think so. And could you see him coaching the L.A. Lakers right now? They would already busted out in a fight down there between each other.
By the way, nice job by JJ so far in my estimation.
I agree with that. Hey, listen, I think there's going to be an incident. I think one game he's going to lose it.
I do. Well, I think this should be his lesson. Calm down, man. This game's off in Hawaii.
He ain't gonna learn that lesson.
These people are already in holiday mode. No. Let's play basketball. Let's get on with life.
I think something big's gonna happen, and then they're gonna say, "Listen, you know, he's going to say, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I have an anger problem. I need to undergo counseling. That'll get rid of whatever big incident happened. But I see it that way because I've never seen a coach like that. And we've been watching for a long time, but that dude's just a loose cannon.
Right. He did it was beyond demeaning the official he was talking about.
Sure.
That was kind of like, hey, man, that's, just character assassination. The man could have been a college ref for 20 years. Yeah. Right. He's talking to him like he was 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like, man, who are you talking to? Right.
And putting down pennies players about not playing defense, too.
Right.
You can't say that stuff, man.
What are you talking? Yeah, exactly. Right. So he's asking for it. I hope he doesn't get it.
Couple of things in retrospect. It already makes Mizzou's loss to Memphis a couple of weeks ago look that much better,
It does look a little better.
I would say, for later in the season and on the local front as well. Meanwhile, Marty, nice development, nice Thanksgiving treat for SLU, too, in terms of getting the big man back.
That is huge. I think initially, let's see when that happened. I thought it'd be 6 to 8 weeks.
It's a Robert Thomas situation, recovery.
Yes, and every day is important in terms of building that NCAA resume, and if he's out more games than what's going to transpire now, that's just a big loss. So big news, and let's hopefully they get something going.
All right. And by the way, I could have gone to the game because they were in Kansas City against Wichita State. The game didn't start till 9:30 p.m. I was like, oh no, that's just too late for me. I got a long day ahead of me tomorrow, so I sat it out. And then I'm reading how sorry they played, and the coach went off on them and everything. I said, oh, I'm damn sure glad I ain't go out there at 9:30.
Yeah, you can't be watching hoops at midnight.
Not SLU, Wichita State. No.
Maybe the old Wichita State of old Greg Marshall.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Greg Marshall.
Speaking of Greg Marshall, that's another dude you put him in there with Hurley. Man,
well, why don't he have a job?
Yes,
right, because he's insane, right.
Sooner or later, it catches up. One note of clarification as well, gentlemen. Confirmation for you, Alvin. The Chargers next play on December the 1st. Make of that what you will.
All right.
In the ATL.
All right.
In the ATL. We have NFL action. We have college football action galore. To everybody out there, guys, obviously, we want to pass along our best wishes and sentiments to our audience, family members, anybody who tunes in on a weekly basis or just sporadically to the College Football Connection. We appreciate it so much. We will be back as well this coming Saturday on the 101 ESPN airwaves at 10 a.m. leading into the game, Ohio State and Michigan coverage commencing at 10:30. We are back from 10 until 10:30. And as always, guys, just eternally grateful for the presence, for being able to wrap it up with you guys once again after a couple of years away. It's such a distinct privilege.
Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Yeah, and I appreciate both of you, and I love doing this every week, and we definitely appreciate you guys tuning in because it's nothing without y'all. And happy Thanksgiving, and screw Danny Hurley.
There you go. And KU Houston paid for my trip to Kansas City.
There you are. Can't say it any better than that.
Right.
That's your walk-off. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Until next week, enjoy the pigskin and all of that turkey.
You've been listening to the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reid on 101 ESPN. Sports talk for St. Louis. Talk for Louis.